Welcome to the Group Dentistry Now Show, the voice of the DSO industry. Kim Larson and Bill Newman talk to industry leaders about their challenges, successes, and the future of group dentistry. Visit groupdentistrynow.com for more DSO analysis, news, and events. Looking for a job or have a job to fill? Visit joindso.com. We hope you enjoy today's show.
Hey everyone, welcome to Group Dentistry Now. I'm Bill Newman. Thanks for being back. It's been a little while since we've done a podcast, and we wanted to get right back into it with two special guests here and a little bit to say about both these individuals. We just had a really cool conversation right before we started to record and got to know. I've known Jeff for quite a while. Jeff and I were Jeff Barsotti, CEO, recent CEO of RecallMax. So congratulations are in order there, Jeff.
Thank you.
And so Jeff and I met, we believe it was DICOMA at their conference in 2018, and just reminiscing about that. And that conference will be coming up soon. And I know RecallMax will have a booth there. So stop by and say hello to the RecallMax folks if you're at the DICOMA conference. And we also have somebody from 123Dentist. Her name is Jennifer Turner. And if you're on LinkedIn and you're in dentistry, you probably have seen Jennifer because she's all over LinkedIn. She does a great job with social media. She was sharing with me that she has 27 years of experience in the dental industry. So that is, it's pretty amazing. But she is the Vice President of Dental Hygiene Operations at 123Dentist. So welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Bill.
This is going to be a lot of fun. There's a lot we can talk about here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let Jen start. Jen, if you don't mind giving us a little bit of your background, some of those 27 years that you want to highlight, and then talk a little bit about 123Dentist.
Sure. Thank you so much. So my career, dental hygiene found me. I wasn't searching. I didn't have that dream as a child to become a dental hygienist. I went to dental assisting school, met an amazing husband and wife dental team, and they prompted me to go forward. So I graduated dental hygiene school. I loved it. I enjoyed the people, but I just knew there was something more for me. I totally respect clinical dental hygienists. I'm a Gemini, so I thrive on change and I love to get out there and meet new people. So I'm happy to share, I won Best Dental Hygiene Educator in Canada as a dental hygiene professor. And I taught education, and then I moved into the regulatory college space, became president and chief governance officer for the College of Dental Hygienists of Ontario. What that really means is protecting the public and regulating the profession of dental hygiene. Then I moved on over to the association side for the Canadian Dental Hygienists Association and was the director of dental hygiene practice. So that was member side. That's a little more fun than disciplining, suspending dental hygienists. And then I moved over to Dental Corp, which is a DSO in Canada, and then moved on to 123Dentist. And I am exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I've just had an incredible journey.
Well, that's great. That was certainly really shortened that 27 years of experience there. But yeah, I was looking through your LinkedIn profile and you have a ton of experience. Looks like you've spoken for a lot of different organizations, dental organizations that people would know, big companies, and your experience at Dental Corp is amazing. And 123Dentist, I've had the opportunity to meet the founder there and some of the founding dentists, and just a really great organization. We'll get to find out more about 123Dentist in a second. And Jeff Barsotti, RecallMax. So, number one, thanks for all the support that RecallMax has provided to Group Dentistry Now over the years. We have a great partnership, and we really appreciate that. And you said, kind of harken back to the DICOMA meeting in 2018 and meeting there, and the great team that you have really assembled relatively recently in the U.S., and they're doing some great things down here. Talk a little bit about RecallMax, Jeff.
Sure. Thank you. And Bill, thank you again for your support as well, and really appreciate being here today with you. So much like Jen's story, dental software found me. And so it wasn't intentional. Our origin story is a little bit unique in the sense that we come from a dental consultancy. And for those that might know, my father, Ron Barsotti, was the architect of what we now know as RecallMax. And so I've been with the company since its inception, and joined in 2011 when we had not one customer to our name. And so I've been through the school of hard knocks myself, and we've grown this thing primarily in Canada to start. And so we're now in 1 in 4 English speaking practices in Canada. And, I was involved in everything from creating the training protocols to how to onboard a client to how to market it. We didn't have a logo when we first joined the company. So it's been a really fun ride. And to your point, as of late, we've just made our way into the United States. So we have an office in Utah, and that's led by James Cook, our president of sales down there. And it's been a really exciting time for RecallMax. And I'm very fortunate to be where I am in this company. And I think that the future is bright for us, as well as 123 and Group Dentistry Now. So I'm just very excited to be here today.
Thanks, Jeff. Yeah, and we actually had your father, Ron, on a podcast back in 2020. And it was a great conversation. We'll make sure that when we publish this podcast, that we drop a link to that for folks that want to watch or listen to that in the show notes, so you can check back, a whole basically 2 years ago. It was May of 2020, and really how far you've come even since then as an organization. Jen, question on 123Dentist. Talk to us a little bit about the stats. So number of practices, what provinces you're in, a little bit of the makeup of the organization.
So 123Dentist is the buzz right now in Canada. We are rapidly growing across Canada. We are moving into provinces that we've never been in before. We're on the east coast of Canada. We're not in the Yukon or the Northwest Territories, but honestly, we're just everywhere I go, people want to know, what is 123Dentist? How is 123Dentist different? And so I just think one of the biggest things that sets us apart from any other DSO is our CEO, Dr. Amin Shivji, is still a practicing dentist. So coming through the pandemic, he really understood what it meant for our clinical teams and how difficult it was. Our chief dental officer, Dr. Karani, is based in Calgary. He's also a practicing dentist. And one of the most exciting things about 123Dentist is we have a chief orthodontic officer. And so he's practicing as well. So we're just made up of so many dental people that really understand the business, that we are healthcare first, followed by a business. And so it's a wonderful place to be. And there was 2 founding principles by Dr. Shivji that I feel are extremely important. And the first one is putting patients above all else. So it really comes down to our patient. We all know in dental, if we don't have patients, we don't have a business. So they have to be our first priority. The second principle was the entire workforce is the most important factor in keeping the patients happy. So Jeff and I have had these conversations before. It's all about people, right? When we do that, our businesses thrive. And so 123 has a great reputation for culture, team engagement, and providing optimal patient care. And really, we don't have to sell 123 because 123 sells itself. So it's fantastic.
It's great to hear. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention one additional person that I know at your organization who was supposed to be on this podcast today, but unfortunately couldn't make it, Jason Brown. So on the support side of things, you talked a lot about the clinical side, which is of the utmost importance, but on the support side, he comes from Colteen Whalen on the manufacturer side. And then as of late, he just before joining 123Dentist, he was at Henry Schein on their special markets team. So shout out to him. But you've assembled a really great group of people there, and you talk about the culture. And, that's exciting because culture seems to be thrown around quite a bit nowadays. And but you don't always see organizations that necessarily live up to that. So it's great to hear that things are working really well there. And I know there's big plans for the future from a growth perspective.
There sure is. We are rapidly growing. Our pipeline is extremely healthy of those that want to join 123. So it is the DSO to watch. So just stay tuned.
That sounds good, and we'll keep our eyes open. And we do have a couple of articles that we've done in the past on 123Dentist. So we'll make sure again in the show notes that we link up to those. So if people want to dig a little bit more into the history of 123Dentist, find out more you'll be able to do that. So let's talk about 123Dentist and RecallMax. So Jen, why are you on this podcast with Jeff from RecallMax?
Awesome. Well, Jeff is a friend of mine through industry, but I rave about RecallMax all the time. Really, it comes down to a few key things. And I say this to Jeff first. We have to be able to measure, and we can't measure what we don't know. So the dashboard is my favorite thing ever about RecallMax, because I'm pretty sure for you guys and the viewers, most of us are visual learners. So we have to see to understand. And so the dashboard is wonderful. We can see it from an enterprise perspective. So all of our practices that have RecallMax, we can go to regions or provinces. We can go by regional manager. It's user friendly. And the training that RecallMax has in place is just second to none. Whether it's your own support, whether you want to get onto a video, you want to get in their academy and learn. It's just an amazing group that can certainly level any business to grow, and new team members come, and it's not difficult to learn the tool. So I'm the big fan of RecallMax.
I'm blushing over here. You're too kind, Jen.
Jeff, do you want to add anything to that?
Well, look, I think that from our perspective, and I think why there's such a great synergy between 123 and RecallMax is because we are people first organizations, and we both bring a lot of dental experience to the table. And so I think that's crucially important when you're working with, if you're going to be investing in software or you're going to be joining a network, people who really understand what makes a dental office tick goes a long way in being able to support the needs of that particular clinic. And so, much like Jen's story, at RecallMax, I mentioned earlier we were born out of a dental consultancy, but we make a real effort to hire on people that have dental experience. So at our head office in Calgary, we've got a combined 150 years of dental experience. Our support team, our OT team, there's people that have all worked front desk in dentistry. Our Canadian SAE team has a combined 60 years of dental experience in practice. And so that's kind of been our secret sauce here, is that, we really want to bring people in that understand what makes a dental practice tick. And we've been in the trenches with you. And so Jen and I, as she mentioned, we've been friends for years, but we're aligned in our vision on how we can change the Canadian landscape in dentistry. And I think it starts with, really being involved and caring about, the success of a dental practice and the people inside that practice.
Yeah, I could.
That's great. Jen, back to you on 123Dentist. Let's talk a little bit about the uniqueness of the platform itself. So talk about partnership, and that's this big trend that we see in the DSO space, going from a DSO to a DPO or a partnership model where, the dentists are more involved, or, whatever that means. It means different things to different people. So can you talk a little bit or speak to that? What does partnership mean to 123Dentist?
Sure. So partnership is crucial. The 123Dentist model is, we really strive to have our dentists do dentistry, and we have amazing support. We have 2 head offices, one in Vancouver, British Columbia, and one in Toronto, Ontario. So just like Jeff said, we're all about people. We want our teams to be able to do their jobs. We want dentists to be able to do dentistry. So we have HR, we have a financial team, we have a talent team, we have marketing teams. And so we go and find the best products, the best services that are out there to support our dental practices. And, RecallMax just happens to be one of those that we're both Canadian, so that's a win as well, because, it's great to support fellow Canadian companies. And when they have amazing service and product, it's a win-win for all of us. And ultimately, anytime you hear me speak, it'll always be, what's best for the patient, right? I'm not sure if you guys have ever been to dental parties. I am a dental hygienist, but most people come up to me and talk teeth, or they'll say, my dental office hasn't called me Jen, and I don't know how long, so I must not be due. So that's where RecallMax helps to set the team up for success. You could set goals of how many patients you want to try and reach per day. And those patients, you think they're not interested in your call, but go to a party and talk teeth and they'll be telling you, wow, we're so thrilled that, my dental office reached out to me because I must matter. People don't want to be a number anymore. They actually want to be known for who they are. And so RecallMax just helps set the practices up, and it makes the patients know that we in each dental offices, we care about them. And so to me, that's crucial.
So let's talk a little bit about what a 123Dentist requires of a SaaS company at the enterprise level. So what are you looking for, Jen, and what are your requirements?
Yeah. So for me, I have to say it again. I'm the dashboard queen. I love the dashboard because you can see it. So seeing is believing, and celebrating wins within the teams. So 1, 2, 3, we need to see the dashboard. We need to have amazing customer service. When we have directors and regional managers, supporting our practices, it can't be 3 days from now that we get an answer. So there is that, I don't know if I'm going to say immediate, but prompt response. And we always get that. And so customer service is exceptional. So the dashboard, the service, and then lo and behold in dental, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's a lot of maternity leaves. So there's people coming and going and, moving. So you have to have training because you want to set your teams up for success. And so accessible, easy learning and coming together, that's what we all want, because you never want to plunk someone in that position, but you haven't really trained them. And that's where our partnership, really works, because we know teams can go off and have lots of babies and the business is still going to run really, really well. So we're thankful for that.
Are the needs different for your organization at the practice level?
So at the practice level, I think they're confident and very comfortable. No one wants to look silly or not be able to do their job well. And that's where RecallMax comes in, because you can get training pretty much any time every day, and you can contact. So at the practice level, we want to make it easy for them, and they voice their opinions and we listen and learn, and we've had conversations. And so we feel very confident and comfortable of what's happening at the practice level, because we're teaching systems and using a product, but we have different personalities, right? And we have different kinds of learners. So we feel whether it's a telephone call, whether it's chat, whether it's watching videos, having meetings, team training, you can't not learn how to do RecallMax. It's just very easy from a practice level.
So this question's for both of you. Maybe we'll start with Jeff. What are you seeing from, I know Jen really talked about the dashboard, and like, we want to see it, we want to visualize it, makes a lot of sense. So Jeff, what are you seeing overall with DSOs? Like, what are they interested in seeing in that dashboard? And have there been any surprises to you, or have you created any maybe new things for people to like, hey, we want to see this? And you're like, wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah, so great question. I think if we take a tiny step backwards in terms of like our overarching opinion of what a DSO needs from a SaaS perspective, for me, it falls into kind of 3 buckets. Jen touched on it earlier in terms of systemization. So what we want to try and do with our analytics and with the toolbar itself is have all locations working in concert. Because as you know, and Jen knows in dentistry, sometimes out of sheer survival, people create their own little systems in-house to stay on top of things, right? And so what you have is locations that vary in terms of productivity and performance. And so you really want something that you can bring in-house to have everybody doing the same things and create a process in-house that works. Second to that, for me, it's about centralization. And so regardless of the PM you're using and things like that, you want to have a sort of a central view on what your regions and locations are doing. And you should have that data in real time. What we tend to see with a lot of organizations from the solo practice right to the regional level is that they're only as good as the reporting suites they have. And so historically speaking, they'll they'll run reports at the end of the month out of said PM and see how they did versus how they're doing. And so if you have access to data that allows you to sort of right the ship mid-month in locations that need it, that can be pretty powerful. And then the last thing that we aim to do is what we call visibility, but really it's about staff activity. And so what we want to do with our analytics is provide insights to managers and regional managers and even executives and C-level, where we can actually understand what staff are doing inside each individual location. Because if you can't measure it, then you can't manage it. And so we really want to make activity tangible. And, you know, Jen touched on it earlier when she was referencing, like, you know, the hygiene parties. But to this day, in the stats that we measure, when you personally engage a patient, you'll get 5 times the scheduling result. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to call everybody, but even a personal text or a personal email goes a long way in building practice productivity. And so, you know, I'm taking the very long way to your question, or answering your question, but I think that's one of the biggest things that dentistry needs to understand, is that engagement is still relevant. And I think a lot of practices have kind of been lulled to sleep on this idea that, you know, patients don't want interaction anymore. There's a whole set it and forget it mentality out in the marketplace now. And it's not to say that automated messaging and things like that aren't good. Like, they're great. We provide some of those services, and you want to have that as part of your overall strategy as a DSO. But if it's the only thing you're doing, you're really missing out on a huge opportunity for growth. And so when we talk about the analytics that we're looking at, we try and center those around these kind of key principles. What are practices doing on a daily basis? How's the hygiene doing inside each location and regionally? We like to measure unscheduled treatment. So are there restorative treatment plans that aren't being booked by location? We like to measure our cancellation percentages and our misses. So, you know, how's our confirmation system doing? Are there any gaps in that particular system? And then what are the recovery efforts there? So how are we helping fill the holes that are created inside said practice? I mean, those are kind of our key drivers. We call them kind of our 3 keys to success. If you can get, you know, your hygiene program on track, your unscheduled treatment and pre-appointing, and your missed cancels on track, you know, it's pretty hard to fail.
Yeah. I think too, one area, just coming from the dental hygiene perspective, whether you're a solo practice that is using RecallMax or you're a DSO, it's really important. Labor is a component, and we know the labor market is pretty difficult these days. But I often ask practices, so how many active patients do you have? And, you know, they'll say, oh, Jen, we have, I don't know, 15,000. Oh my goodness, that's amazing. Let's take a look at your schedule. And then we'll go in and we'll look at active patients. And instead of 15,000, lo and behold, it's 9,000, right? So there's a big difference. And knowing your information, knowing your metrics is so healthy to understand your business. And so in dental hygiene, you know, it's like this golden rule that you have one dental hygienist for every 1,500 patients. So that's majority of practices. It's one dental hygienist to 1,000 patients. If you have a stellar perio or gum disease program out there. So it can also give you some, you know, insight on your labor and staffing ratios. And one other thing from an admin perspective, I always think we're way better to be proactive than reactive. And we don't want to like have secrets. So we want to know, here's how your success. So we want to set our team members up for success so they can follow along and see their contacts, and we can run contests and celebrate their wins. It's not like on the 30th or the last day of the month, we come to them, you know, you've done this and that. No, they can see every day in real time. And to me, that's the way the world works today. We're not really doing that reactive approach. Dentistry should be all about proactive. And so that's why I believe in this.
And you know what? And sorry I know you were going to ask another question, Bill, but I just wanted to expand on what you just said, Jennifer, the active patient thing. It's a huge common misconception, because when you go into your PM and you run a report and it says like, show me how many active patients I have, it'll spit out a number based on the status of the patient. So the status is marked active, right? And so you'll get a number, to Jen's point, maybe 15,000. But how Jen and I look at what an active patient is, it's like, how often have they been in the building? And so one of the key metrics you need is visit frequency over status. And it can be a very eye-opening thing for owners, is that the PM will spit out, oh, I have 10,000 patients, but in fact, 1,500 have only been to the practice within the last 2 years. And quite frankly, practice valuation is based nowadays on not how many active charts you have by status, but how many patients have been in your building within the last 2 years. So that's a good point, Jen.
Yeah, thanks.
Makes a lot of sense. You both touched on this, which I find, and Jen touched on, the tight labor market that you're experiencing in Canada. We certainly are experiencing it here in the US. The training component. So whether it's, videos or, so you've got maybe some turnover or new people that are handling these roles that maybe they didn't handle before. Talk to me a little bit about how you use training, Jen, and then Jeff, if you want to touch on that as well. But I'd love to kind of find that out, because whether it's RecallMax or some other type of technology or another product that the DSOs are adopting, that seems to be almost as important as the product itself. Is what's the support look like? What's the service, the training look like?
I totally agree. So I'm really excited to share that, from a training perspective, first from a high level at 123Dentist, our CEO is an amazing human being. And, he came to say that he wanted a different kind of training program at 123. So we are actually, with labor market shortages and just problems following post-pandemic, we've created our own in-house 123Dentist dental assisting, non-certified, and dental office admin program. And he wanted to give back to those that, needed a break. Maybe they wanted a change in career. So training is huge. We also run different programs for the Smile program or the sleep program, having people function. And then our team members, when it comes down to systems and procedures, we need step by step. We want to set them up for success. We want to build what their strengths are, not go from weaknesses. So when you have video training, we're so excited. We've been to live events lately. I know in the US, you guys are way ahead of where we are, but Jeff and I, we had booths right across from each other in Toronto at the Ontario Dental Association. So being alive, having, people contact, having video contact, having Zoom calls, having webinars recorded, you have to get lots of training, because you can't expect great outcomes if you don't work with companies who don't believe in training the same way that we do and our synergy together.
Yeah.
And what are you doing with training? Go ahead.
Well, a very similar approach to what Jen's talking about. Our philosophy here, and I use this statement a lot, especially when it comes to our practices, is that, you can hand somebody a hammer, but it doesn't make him a carpenter. And really, the only way that we see success with our practices is ensuring that they utilize the tool that we're installing in-house. So, if I talk about our sort of client-facing training protocols, we actually just went through a pretty significant change in our onboarding experience. To Jen's point, we have more than one approach. It used to be that we would train our practices sort of hands-on. We still do that as a component, but now we have something called the RecallMax Academy. We've got all sorts of videos in there, micro-learning, knowledge checks, things like that. And for the first time ever, we actually have the ability to understand what a person knows about our software versus how they're using it, which is kind of a unique thing. Because I think, you can track mouse clicks and things like that, but that doesn't help you understand the why at the practice level. And so when people really understand why they should be doing something, the how kind of falls into place. And so we're pretty excited about that. We also have, as of late, RecallMax Platinum, which is a new offering where we're a lot more hands-on with that particular SKU. And we create opportunities to meet with our in-house consultants and really sort of game plan how we can bring our practices to the next level. So we're very much invested in training. I'm 100% aligned with Jen. I think that, you really have to invest in the people that are in the practice. And then if we look at RecallMax internally, we follow the same philosophy. We're very, very, we have some great people here. And, we just are really focused on, first of all, people enjoying their work, having a great work-life balance, but also, creating structure and process that allows us to serve our clients in ways that makes us feel good. And I think that, when we talk about the title of this webinar being a people first culture, I'm a huge believer in that all we have is our people, whether that's in-house here at RecallMax or the people we're investing in our practices. And I know it sounds a bit cliche, but it's absolutely true. And I think, that's in part why we enjoy so much working with 123. Like the executive team there is just fantastic to work with. And so we're just like-minded folks when it comes to the energy that we try and bring to the Canadian marketplace.
That's great. So it almost sounds like there's a partnership here. So let's talk a little bit as we start to wrap up this podcast. Talk about some of the results that we're seeing. You've got the dashboard that you focused on. You talked about the incredible training, and we talked about culture, right? So tell me a little bit about, Jen, what you're seeing as far as results working with RecallMax, and Jeff, feel free to expound on that.
Sure. So the results are fantastic. And we often say, it's a tool. So you can't have a tool in your tool belt if nobody's using the tool. So it is crucial and critical to the success of any dental practice to, one, make sure that the admin team member is trained, but then, when we're in practices across the country, to make sure that individual has dedicated time to work the RecallMax tool. We can't get success out of thin air. So with that comes the training. We want to make sure they know what they're doing, how to do it. They feel confident, they feel good, they've got real-time results, and, it's a win. And sometimes we see as well, the admin team, they go to, Jeff and I had this conversation last week, they go to the patients who haven't been in 18 to 24 months, and they're trying to get them in first. And RecallMax has a feature for due and late. You want to get those that have been in, somewhat recently to come back, because hopefully they value their oral health. And we want to make sure not that the 18 to 24 months are not important, they are, but you want to try and, as we have openings and schedules or short notice cancellations, you want to set your teams up to be able to get success. So you have full schedules. So what we see coming from RecallMax, when we as 123 puts the system in place to have the admin team member properly trained and having time to use the tool, it's a win-win, it's success. And so, we're thrilled. We're absolutely thrilled, and, can't thank Jeff enough.
Well, thanks, Jen. I mean, I think that when we look at what we're aiming to do with 123, it's what I alluded to earlier, and what Jen's speaking into is that, unfortunately, people at the front desk don't really have the tools to succeed. And so if you think about all the cool innovations in dentistry, 99% of the stuff, it hits the chair side. And so really what I think she's alluding to here, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, is that, if we can get people at the front desk kind of working in ways that help them be more productive with less effort, and sort of provide a translation as to what's going on in the PM, because let's face it, like, not to knock any of the scheduling platforms out there, but they're not well designed to have people really find where the opportunities are. They're great for scheduling and billing and other things, but they're not a translator for somebody who has varying levels of experience at the front desk. And so I think where we've seen success together is that we're really trying to empower people at the practice level to know that there's a way here to actually find where the wins are. And when we can get people excited about that and get them working in the right direction, the results follow. So we see increases in bookings and increases in revenues. But I guess where Jen and I are coming from is that that's not our primary focus, is to drive revenue. And it sounds a little hippie-ish, but really it starts with the people. It starts with making sure that we can assist people in how they perceive their work and the processes we can define to help them do better. And so, I mean, Jen being 27 years in hygiene, and myself now 13 in sort of software systems, Batman and Robin, and she's Batman. So, I think that that's what's exciting about this. We really enjoy working together.
We do. And I also would just like to add to that, happy team members that are productive leads into like happy owners and then happy patients. And that drives our business. So when you focus on the people first, create the culture, give them the tools they need, the rest follows, right? It's healthcare first, followed by a business. And together we have fantastic synergy.
That's great. That's a great way to end things. The final question for both of you is, Jen, if somebody wants to reach out to you, contact you, what's the best way to do that?
Sure. So they are more than happy to send me an email. My email is jturner@123dentist.com, or give me a call at 289-213-5795. You can text or give me a call, and I'd be happy to have a chat. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you, Jen. Jeff, how about you? How can they find out about RecallMax, contact you if they have any questions?
Yeah, I think the easiest would be just my name, jeff.barsotti@recallmax.com. Shoot me an email and I will take it from there for sure.
That's great. And we'll make sure that we put the email addresses in the show notes. Thank you, both of you. Great conversation. Really great to meet Jen for the first time and to see you again, Jeff. Great things going on at both organizations. So until next time, I'm Bill Newman, and this is the Group Dentistry Now Show. We appreciate everybody listening in or watching us today. Take care.
The Group Dentistry Now Show has listeners across North and South America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. If you like our show, subscribe today, and please tell your colleagues about us.